is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
All right, your Missouri Tigers are going to the Cotton Bowl to face off against the Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm Tucker Franklin here on Mizzou That's Who, your podcast from Missouri Sports here on KC Sports Network. Joined as always by Gabe DeArmond and Maggie Johnson. Gabe, listen, there's been some big Mizzou activity in the last, 8 hours probably, as you are hanging out with us, coming to us live from Mizzou Arena after a big basketball win. Gabe, how you doing?
Well, I want the video of this posted so you can see the flashing fluorescent lights with a fight song playing in the background. This is on brand. No, I'm good. It was a good day. Talked to Desiree Reed-Francois briefly after Dennis Gates' press conference. I said that solid day, and she said that was a great Sunday. We'll talk a lot about the bowl bid. Won a basketball game, looked competent, so everything went well today.
Absolutely. Maggie, how you feeling after seeing the Cotton Bowl for the Tigers?
Yeah, I think most people pretty much expected peach or cotton, I think, the entire time. So I was kind of expecting to go to Dallas. I was hoping to go to Dallas because I think most people were hoping to go to Dallas. It's the most drivable from where the majority of people are in the country from Mizzou fans. So I'm pretty stoked about it. And I'm booked and ready to roll.
I got my tickets. I plan on driving it, doing it the old-fashioned way. I will say, so on Saturday, I was looking at, because I was like, I really want them to go to the Cotton Bowl. I was like, maybe I'll just, buy this stuff resell tickets. I can do it, whatever, fine. And I can, there were plenty of plane tickets there. But after it was announced, maybe 30 minutes after it was announced, there was, only a few tickets left on Southwest. Ticket prices started shooting up. Gabe, you had tweeted that, at the basketball game, they announced that 80% of their allotment, which the basketball game started very shortly after that announcement came down, that 80% of the allotment was sold. Tickets are flying off. I think I saw that there's no more tickets through the Cotton Bowl box office that you can buy at the time of recording this podcast. Everything's going to be verified resale through SeatGeek. Obviously, a lot of excitement for this game. They play Ohio State. A game matchup, Gabe, that we had talked about that I thought could be potentially a fun one, depending on who Ohio State plays and all that, right? There's always that goes into it. But first thoughts on this matchup.
Well, it seemed like a long shot to me at the beginning of the week because I thought Georgia was going to win. I thought Georgia would win the SEC title. Alabama wouldn't jump Ohio State, all that. Well, then, everything went haywire, really, when Bama won that game. Georgia got knocked down, put them in the Orange Bowl, which knocked Ohio State into the at-large pool. Look, I love this matchup for a few reasons. First of all, the worst thing in the New Year's Six would be having to play Liberty. Think about Oregon's players right now. They thought they were playing for a national title on Friday night. There might be guys with eligibility left that are just like, yeah, coach, I can't play that one. I'm not going to be there for that. So you want an opponent that gives you some upside for winning. This clearly does that, right? Maybe not for Ohio State, but it does for Missouri. The second thing is the last time Ohio State and Missouri played, I was a junior and a senior in college. They played in Columbia my junior year and Columbus my senior year. And so it's kind of cool. That was the Andy Katzenmoyer, Corby Jones teams. That'll be kind of fun. I can't breathe. It's a long day. Maggie can talk.
No, so I'm excited about this game. The main part is, and I know if you have listened to this podcast, I have said numerous times that I am not from the state of Missouri. I was raised 50% Nebraska Cornhusker, 50% Ohio State Buckeye. My dad is from Columbus, Ohio. Whole family still lives in Columbus, Ohio. So it is a very interesting matchup in the Johnson household to say. My brother lives in Lee Summit. He's a huge Ohio State Buckeye fan. He married a Mizzou girl, Mizzou grad alum. So yeah, it's very interesting. I'm excited, but I've just never really gotten this opportunity to play them, especially when Mizzou's been this good. Right. So it's exciting. It's a little bit nerve-wracking for me, but I'm interested to see what's going to happen with opt-outs. I'm interested to see if Martin Harrison Jr. is going to play. I would love for him to play. Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you, Gabe. I think based on a lot of the things that I have seen from like Ohio State fans, this bowl is beneath them. Okay, so playing Mizzou is
Sure.
beneath them, right? So
Sure.
I mean, that's just in their minds. That's how they see it, and so I can see a lot of the players being like, "Well, we expected a week ago or whatever, 8 days ago, we almost beat Michigan, and if we beat Michigan, we're we're talking about something entirely different." So. Yeah, I can see a lot of their players opting out. It'll be interesting to see which of our players play.
Go ahead, Gabe. I'm pretty.
I was going to say, we talked to Drinkwitz about that today. I specifically asked him. He said Ennis Rakestraw, he's not sure will be healthy enough. Now, if Ennis is healthy, I think he'll play this game. I'm not sure he would have played the other ones, but he's a Dallas kid. He'll play this one if he can, I think. Drink said he doesn't think anybody else is opting out. Tyron Hopper, they're going to try to get healthy. He's indicated he wants to play. Darius Robinson's playing. Cody Schrader's playing. Javon Foster's playing. We didn't talk to Chris Abrams-Strain today, but like everybody said, no, these guys are. Cody Schrader called it a legacy game for the senior class. He said we want to play. We want to be part of this.
It's a bar right there. He's had a few of those recently. Cody Schrader has some pretty good quotes. But Gabe, you mentioned last matchup that Missouri has had against Ohio State is in 1998. Listen, there's really been no reason for these two teams to match up against each other because of how good Ohio State's been. Usually the SEC doesn't have a huge overlap in terms of non-con with the Big Ten. Maybe we'll see that change with, just big two power leagues, and it's basically just going to turn into the NFL of the NCAA is what's going to happen. You're going to expand the playoff to 14 teams. It's all going to be like that. It's just what's going to turn into. But fourth time Missouri's going to the Cotton Bowl. Last time, pretty good result as they faced Oklahoma State. Cotton Bowl just recently, I can't remember what year it officially became a part of like the New Year's Six. It wasn't a part of the New Year's Six originally, I don't think.
It was 2014 because that's when the New Year's Six came into existence. It was the year after Missouri played it.
Dang. Just missed out on that New Year's Six opportunity. But a big game. And I do think that the big thing is going to be looking at the opt-outs for Ohio State. I don't anticipate really a lot of the guys that they got on there. Marvin Harrison Jr. is looking at a number 1 overall pick. Emeka Ibuka, really, when you talk about him, like he's been very solid this year and has been a really good for Kyle McCord. He probably isn't going to be playing either because he's got a pretty good draft day situation lined up there too. They've got some good offensive linemen that could sit out. Like they're starting to look like with opt-outs and everything, I think Missouri could win this game. And what's been really good about Ohio State, or what Ohio State really grew into as the season went on, I'm not sold on Kyle McCord yet as a quarterback, especially from this year. But their defense really stepped up. Their defense started to play really well in these games. They were turned into a really good defensive team. They have a lot of those guys opt out. I feel pretty good about Missouri's chances, truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten into matchups, but look, the guys you mentioned, JT Tuamolo, I think. I don't know. Just call him JTT. That's easier. I'd be surprised if he'll play. I mean, they've got a lot of NFL guys on this team, and look at Ohio State is one of those places, like Maggie said, and I know Missouri fans will get offended by it, but I don't know what to tell you. It's one of those places, if you're not playing for a national title, the season wasn't worthwhile. Ryan Day's 50-7, and they want to fire him because he can't beat Michigan. They had a one-game season, and they lost that game. And this is not – bowl games are about motivation. We saw it when Missouri went and played Navy. Missouri didn't care, and Navy did, and Navy won. When Missouri went to the Cotton Bowl in 2007, Arkansas didn't really care, and Missouri wanted to put the cap on a season, and they did. It's about who wants to be there. I don't offer gambling advice, but I promise Ohio State's going to be favored in this game, and I promise Missouri wants to be there a lot more than Ohio State does.
They're 6.5-point favorites in the opening lines on DraftKings, by the way.
Yeah, well, and that makes sense because, seriously, if you just take a random college football fan and you say Ohio State's playing Missouri, you can't set a line high enough for that fan to take Missouri.
For sure.
They're going to look at Ohio State, Missouri, and go 6.5. I'm in. It's Ohio State, man. They don't know.
Right.
They don't know who's playing. They don't know if Missouri's good. They're going to bet Ohio State.
Joel Klatt would lose his mind and say that's way too low. But I don't know if anybody heard the comment during the Big Ten broadcast. About Mizzou being overrated.
I asked this completely seriously. What's it going to take for Missouri fans to not convince themselves, I need to look for everybody that hates me? Like, I've tried to tell people for 3 weeks how this system works. And you're getting in. And all last night, all this morning, well, Alabama win knocks us out. Well, they're just going to screw us because they hate us. This guy tweeted something mean. This guy has a podcast in his mom's basement and said something mean. Like, it's like a professional sport. You go to look for people that anger you, and I don't understand it.
Well, in all fairness, if you were watching the Big Ten championship game, it was very hard to miss. He said it like, I watched it. Point blank period. He said it pretty. I don't know how far into it. Probably around like the end of the third quarter. I don't know. But point blank period was talking about Georgia and how terrible their schedule is, and then just went on a tangent about how overrated Mizzou is. But I totally agree with you, especially on the whole thing about the New Year's Six. And I was funny because I read some of the comments underneath your thing this morning, Gabe, when you were like bumping this up just in case people think that we're going to get screwed today.
Yeah.
And people were like, well, you won't share it. Subscribe to Power Mizzou and read about it.
Right.
But you also don't have to do that. It is literally everywhere all over Google. Like this, it's not hard to find. Like it is the top 4 picked by the committee, and then there's the next group right behind them, and then it's the highest ranked group of 5 team. It is not difficult. And then the highest ACC person automatically got the Orange Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
Right. Also on Joel Klatt specifically, look, I don't enjoy Joel Klatt as a commentator. I don't think he's particularly good. But he is working for a network that carries the Big Ten. I mean, this is the equivalent of Peter Burns or the SEC network guys tweeting, well, the SEC is great. Nobody else knows how to play football. It should be Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Missouri in the playoffs.
Yep.
I mean, and
I did see that, though.
Is that wrong? No, I'm just kidding.
It's incredibly wrong.
No, I did see it. I saw like SEC Mike post that.
Uh-huh.
Well, it was pretty funny.
He said if we really want the 4 best teams, it should be Alabama, Georgia, Missouri, Ole Miss. And I said, we're back, baby. We are so back. We could probably do a whole hour-and-a-half discussion about the college football playoffs, like committee just deciding to leave Florida State out of it. I truthfully think it was the right call when it comes down to it. They put the 4 best teams in there. Florida State, listen, somebody was going to be upset. Like, that just comes down to it. Somebody was going to be upset. I think more people can get behind the justification of leaving Florida State out than leaving Alabama out or leaving Texas out. I think that less people are upset. I don't know if that's how they decided it in the war room there at Grapevine, Texas. Like, how can we make people least upset? Which is maybe a question that was asked at one point because somebody was going to get upset. There's 5 power conference champions in 4 playoff spots. One always misses out. That's how it goes.
Except they haven't in the past. They've gotten bailed out every single year until this year.
They have. And they pulled up their big boy pants. I think they made the right decision.
I agree. Somebody, like you said, somebody was going to be mad. But here's what I don't think they did. I don't think they put the 4 best teams in there, and I don't think they put the 4 most deserving teams in there. I think they blended those things together, and I actually agree with that because Georgia is one of the 4 best teams in college football. But they had their chance, and they lost basically a play-in game last night. And so you're out. Florida State is they won every game on their schedule. And for people that say, well, they didn't schedule anybody, they scheduled LSU and Florida in the non-conference schedule. Their schedule actually in the non-con was better than Alabama's. Florida State's problem is that they play in the ACC, and Clemson was bad. So they were deserving, but nobody could watch that game last night and say they were one of the 4 best teams. So I think they got the right mix of good resumes and good teams on the field. And guys, I don't know about you, Michigan, Alabama, and Texas, Washington, this is going to be amazing. I can't wait.
This is probably, I would say, like the best like matchups that we've had in that first round.
Oh, yeah.
Like so that they're not routes. And I agree with you on getting it right. It's kind of interesting because you look at, I agree. I think Georgia is a top team. I think Alabama is probably a top team. Like I think Alabama is better. Well, obviously they made it in, but I think Alabama is probably better than Texas, but it's like, how do you justify that when they win? But here's the thing for me, is it's like, I get wins and losses, and I get the head-to-head thing, but you have to look at teams get so much better from week 2 to the SEC championship, and it's like, how, I don't know if you could have really, if they would have put them in above Texas, I don't even know if I would have been that upset about it, because I feel like they've played better than Texas. I think Texas has played very inconsistent for a lot of the year. So if they would have put Alabama above Texas, I don't think I would have complained. I get why they didn't, but teams get better. We got better. We beat Middle Tennessee by 4 points in the second week. I don't think that we would beat Middle Tennessee by 4 points today.
But that's also like saying week 2 games don't count. I mean, like Missouri K-State was only a week later. Missouri's win over K-State is a big reason they were number 9. And so Missouri fans would be furious if somebody said, well, yeah, but that was so long ago, it doesn't count. I mean, because, look, I understand the argument for Alabama, and I thought they should have gotten in. But if Texas doesn't get in, then why should anybody ever play anybody else in the non-con?
Correct.
Like, what's the point of even playing a real game? Just go schedule Sam Houston State 4 times.
Which is what Texas A&M does.
But I think that's then the issue with the whole Florida State thing, because I agree. I think they scheduled LSU, and obviously LSU wasn't their best year. It wasn't terrible. I mean, obviously they beat us, but LSU is a pretty decent team, and they whooped them. Like, if you watch that game, especially in the second half, like, they just absolutely destroyed them. And then in the Florida game, I mean, Florida's not who Florida has been, prior to Mizzou being in the SEC, but you book these games out so far in advance, and Florida still fills up their roster with 4 and 5 stars. So you don't know what they're going to be. You cannot fault Florida State for what they did. Right. I still think Florida State got a little bit robbed. I do agree that you have to put the best 4 teams in, and Florida State is not one of the best 4 teams, but like you said, Gabe, it was definitely a merger of the two, because it's not the most deserving 4 teams either.
Well, and I just feel like, I don't know if you guys saw Jordan Travis's tweet.
Yeah.
That poor kid, man. I mean, that's like, I don't really feel all that bad for Mike Norvell or for Florida State fans. Whatever. It happens. But it's what Tucker said. The problem is not who gets in and who doesn't. The problem is that you had a system with 5 major conferences and decided 4 teams was enough. And then in 2021, when the Big 12 and the SEC wanted to fix this, the other 3 conferences said no. We could have had 12 this year. Missouri could be getting ready to go to Eugene, and Florida State could be getting ready to host Liberty and an automatic trip to the second round, and everybody could be happier. But those teams didn't want that. They formed an alliance, and it didn't work out very well.
An alliance that lasted maybe 45 minutes.
And now the ACC got hosed, and the Pac-12 is done.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I think I was having a conversation with somebody about just like the ACC. It's like, are you saying the ACC doesn't matter to him? Are you taking away the ACC's like Power 5 claim? And SMU is about to go to the ACC, and I think that they're probably vying for a championship. They just won the American. So, I mean, SMU is a pretty good team that's going to come in from a non-Power 5 league and be towards the top of that league, I think. But it's interesting, and I think there's a large conversation we can have, but we do need to take a break. We'll get to some basketball, too, because, Gabe, you are sitting at the arena, so I think we should probably talk about a pretty decent win for the Missouri Tigers basketball team as it all shakes out. But I'm rocking home field apparel. Maggie's rocking home field apparel. We love home field apparel because they've got some great stuff. And if you want to get outfitted for the Cotton Bowl, make sure to go to homefieldapparel.com. Use that code KCSN 15 for 15% off, or KCSN 23 for 15% off your first order. If you've not made an order there, they got some great looks. Can't wait for the Cotton Bowl shirt to come out eventually of this from Home Field Apparel of the Cotton Bowl win. That'd be a great shirt. Be a good look for Home Field Apparel. I'll get on the phone and get with the guys there, see what we can come up with. But make sure to go check them out. Over 150 plus schools there at homefieldapparel.com. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back to talk some Mizzou hoops coming up after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
All right, anything on the Cotton Bowl before we move on, before we get more information on it? Gabe, anything we haven't touched on that you want to hit on?
I think best possible outcome for Missouri. You go win that game 6th, maybe, something like that. Either Georgia or Florida State's going to win. They're going to finish above you. The playoff team should finish above you. And then maybe Oregon. So you're looking at 6th, 7th in the country. You go win that game. Not bad.
Would not be upset about that. If I told August Tucker that they have the potential to be number 6 in the country, I'd be like, what? What happened in college football? Who got hurt in college football for that to happen?
I almost asked who August Tucker, if that was somebody I should know. Sounds like a real name.
It does sound like
formal.
That's the problem with my name is I've got 2 first names and I also have 2 last names as a name. So like I'm like a random generated person essentially. When you just put it in there. AI Tucker.
You're right for Sports Illustrated.
I probably could. But let's talk about this basketball game, Gabe. They end up pulling out a 10-point win over Wichita State. And also, we haven't talked about the Pitt games either. Like 2 pretty big non-con games that they have gotten wins after a game against Jackson State that people want to forget.
Yeah, they look like they're starting to figure out their roles. Caleb Grill is playing a lot better. Sean East is kind of the guy on this team.
Yeah.
And Ant Robinson is playing some minutes. Connor Vanover is starting to play some minutes. And the Jackson State thing, it's brutal. Mississippi State lost to Southern. Vandy lost to Presbyterian. Kentucky lost at home to UNC Wilmington. This is happening more than people know in college basketball. So it doesn't have to kill your season.
We can't forget about the Arkansas loss to whatever North Carolina school they lost to as well. And then proceeded to beat Duke, but then Duke also got beat by somebody else yesterday too. Georgia Tech, yeah. So Duke might not.
They play a conference game already?
Yeah, ACC and Big Ten both started.
What in the world? What? Oh, I guess that's fair. I guess I lost track of time because Mizzou football has been so good. But yeah, you made a good point, Gabe. This is going around. Like Saturday, as crazy as Saturday was for college football, there were some pretty crazy basketball finishes on Saturday too. I can remember just watching the ticker on the bottom of ESPN and be like, "Oh, that happened." Oh, and then Purdue lost, I think, on Friday. So I mean, there's so much going on in college basketball as well. But glad to see Mizzou get on the winning side. They have 4 straight going into the Kansas game coming up next Saturday on the 9th, December the 9th. Big game. That is a big game. That'll be at Allen Fieldhouse for anybody wondering at 4:15 p.m. So this is it. This is the time to turn your attention to the Missouri basketball team.
Yes. I feel like it's interesting because we were undefeated going into the Kansas game last year, but we still didn't know what we had because we hadn't really played anybody. I think we had played at this point Wichita State. Had we just beaten UCF with a buzzer beater, maybe, or something like that? We didn't really know what we had. I think there was a lot of optimism about the game, and I'm not saying that it's time to throw in the towel by any means. Don't do that, anybody. But yeah, this is an uphill battle. I would say Kansas is really, really good, and last year, I didn't think we were going to lose by, what did we lose by? 27, 28. And then the year before, that was brutal. But last year, I was not expecting it. And now I don't even know, do I go into the game expecting it? I don't even know.
Well, I mean,
I feel like that we have some protection now.
It's always tough to play 8-on-5, It's a tough building.
It's fair.
You're not wrong.
And if you look, I mean, the numbers back it up too. Listen, I know we say kind of tongue in cheek, but the numbers do back it up usually when it comes to Kansas basketball at home there. But listen, they'll have Kansas. They go to Kansas, right? That's going to be a tough one. But then they got Seton Hall, Illinois coming up as well. Two two pretty solid non-con games as well. Like when we talked to Dickie Nutt at the beginning of the season, this non-con schedule's no joke for the Tigers here. But that Seton Hall game's in Kansas City. That'll be fun. I might try to sneak to that one actually. The Chiefs probably play on that Sunday, actually. Now that I think about it, the Chiefs probably play, so I won't be able to go see that, sadly. But, some good stuff from Missouri. I didn't watch the game in turn from Wichita State, but I was following it because I was keeping a close eye on it. I think Wichita State plays also Kansas this year. Or do they play Kansas State? They play one of the two in terms of the other area teams. But good to get a win when they needed it. And Gabe, I saw you tweet out. I know you mentioned Sean East being the guy, but it seemed like when they needed a bucket, they went to Sean East to get that bucket. How has his growth been from last year to this year?
Yeah, I mean, he's gone from a guy that was a role player to, he's the guy now, right? 22 and 9 assists today. I thought really, really was, he won the game at Minnesota. He had the ball in his hands late. He's the guy they look to when they need a play, whether that's a basket or a pass. He's the guy on this team. And he's Gates has said in a couple of press conferences, Sean told me this in a huddle, or Sean suggested we do this. And so he's Missouri's 19th assistant coach this year, along with all the other guys in suits on the bench, and doing a hell of a job, it seems like.
I liked what somebody on the broadcast said today about how they're not afraid to use a lot of players for Mizzou, and I like that. That Anthony Robinson is getting minutes, and Trent Pearson didn't get very many this game, but they're putting him in, and you enjoy seeing that because it's last year I just felt like we were so shallow on the bench, and I don't know if that's really just because of foul trouble all the time or something like that, but we just didn't have a lot of guys that could go in there and really, take someone's place, and you could be like, okay, well, I'm okay with him being in there. And with Grill, like you said, playing better, you just feel more confident and things like that.
I just want to see Shawnee smile. That's it. I just want to see that dude smile. I always see him in pictures, and he always is so serious. One of my favorite pictures is after bragging rights last year. Huge win, blow out Illinois, a team that was anticipated to be a very highly rated team in the country. Everybody's around the trophy smiling, throwing up the deuces, and he's just standing there straight face. That's one of my favorite pictures that has ever been taken of this Missouri basketball team. And look, this is a very memed team. It might be the most memed team in the country. Even their own team account started to lean into it a little bit with the memes. But any final thoughts on Mizzou basketball before we get out of here? As you can tell, I don't have many.
Kansas, Seton Hall, Illinois. I feel like 1 and 2 doesn't kill your season. 2 and 1 would, I feel like, move everybody past Jackson State. And okay, because it means you either beat KU or you beat Illinois, and that's kind of I think people will get back to maybe this is a tournament team if either one of those happens. I think one is significantly more likely than the other, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to see us win 2 out of those 3 games. Illinois looked a lot better the last couple of games. They just went to Rutgers and absolutely tore them apart. So, I'm not saying that, Rutgers is a hard-hitting team or anything, but Rutgers was favored. So, they beat them by quite a bit. So I'd love to see us, take another bragging rights game away from Underwood, but
that'd be pretty.
See what happens. We'll learn a lot. We'll learn a lot in the Kansas game.
I like to win the bragging rights games, because it's one of those. I don't know what movie's from, but the meme that's he said where the guy, they're both two guys in an elevator, and he's like, "I hate you so much," and then the other one's like, "I don't even think about you." That's how I feel like it is with the bragging rights thing. Missouri, when Missouri wins it, it's just it's I hate you guys. I was like, I don't even think about Illinois all that much. So that's fair. I don't spend that much energy on it. But anyway, let's end the podcast. Not a very long one for us for us this week. I appreciate everybody listening all the way until the very end of the podcast. Missouri going to the Cotton Bowl, big game. I'll be down there in Dallas. Maggie will be down there in Dallas. We'll probably be in all different areas in Dallas. Gabe, I assume you're going to be down there in Dallas as well.
Tucker, you know what they say about assuming.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
We will have representation for Power Mizzou in Dallas.
Never assume. All right, that's going to do it. That's going to do it for this week's episode of Mizzou That's Who. I'm Tucker Franco for Gabe DeArmond and Maggie Johnson. We'll catch y'all later.